as the great, and when I say great, I spell Grate, as the great cheesy cash-in exploitation artist, as the great... Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. When I say great, I spell Grate, as the great. Lesson number 1 when you're webcasting, turn off the monitor speaker. So here we go, kids. Take 2, live on the internet. As the great, and I spell that Grate, great, sleazy exploito cash-in singer Tubby Chess once said, "Yeah," in that exact same inflection. Yeah, it's me, Malcolm Tent, bringing you this week's episode of, you guessed it, kids, Tent Talks Tunes. Woo, doggy. I have been off the air for a couple of weeks. Hope you guys will forgive me. I've been out there taking care of some serious business. So much business that I have got to take a swig of that good Danbury tap from my trademark gallon jug. You'll notice that the gallon jug does change periodically. I actually wear these things out. I drink so much water directly from the gallon jug that they spring leaks, they fall apart. So I gotta switch them out every now and again. This is a good heavy duty one with a big fat handle. So we'll see how long this sucker lasts. Who is in the house? Let me put on my dollar store cheaters and see. Oh, we got Clinton Zillow, we got Alan Versapellis, we got James Pogo, we got Brandon Yitai. Speaking the Grateful Dead speak. Greeting from Brandon Yitai. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now. I know what you're saying there, Brandon. I get it. Woo! Brandon Yitai fits right in with the first part of this week's episode of Tent Talks Tunes, as does Mr. John Bridges, who just tuned in. We got Nick Sampson. Welcome aboard, everybody. Let's get ready for some tune edge. You might notice that my backdrop, my fabulous cable TV backdrop, has changed a bit. For weeks and weeks and weeks, you saw a certain group of flyers over here to my right. And every single one of those flyers is now obsolete. The big events that I've been really excited for and gearing up for literally months have sure enough done come and gone. And I just want to say, in basic chronological order, thank you everybody who came out to the Devotional Devo Fan Fest, September 22nd and September 23rd. Man, that was a hoot and a holler. That was a blast and a half. Devotees from all over the planet converged upon the Beachland Ballroom in beautiful, the extreme western side of Cleveland to get in touch with their inner devolved selves. And a splendid time was had for all. I must say that the set I played went pretty well. I did really strip down, no frills. Excuse me, that was a live sneeze, live on Tent Talks Tunes on Facebook and the internet, and preserved forever on my YouTube channel, which we, of course, invite you to subscribe to. If you haven't already, you better get on it. Subscribe to that mofo. That sneeze is on my permanent record. People will be reliving that sneeze and replaying that sneeze and reposting that sneeze and making meme videos out of that sneeze until the day the sun goes supernova and swallows up the third planet in orbit. What can you do? You put it on the internet, it's out there. I have no control over it. When a man's got to sneeze, a man's got to sneeze, please. So anyway, yeah, the Devotional, so much fun. I'm very happy and pleased with the reception that my set got. Lots of birthday wishes. I want to send big special livications to DJ Lance Rock, who went above and beyond the call of duty. He did 3 days of hard labor at the Devotional being MC, being live DJ, and just general all-around good fella for the entire weekend, even to the extent of DJing the after party at this really cool pinball gallery in Cleveland. Just really, really cool. And also a special salute to Nick Ciausulo, the hardest working promoter in show business. He held the whole thing together. He made it happen, and happen it did to great success. Now, you folks had seen in the past, leading up to Devotional, that I was hyping, shilling, promoting, and just generally being really darn shameless about some product. Because, you know, it's Tent Talks Tunes, baby. I try not to make it an infomercial, but let's face it, capitalism is the engine that drives this whole society of ours. And I'm going to play my part in keeping it alive. Yes, I was talking all about the Devoted LP. It is now officially out. Got a great response at the Devotional. This features one side of music featuring, I hate to use the word feature twice in one sentence. Let's see if I can do that a little bit better, a little more grammatically interesting. This here album includes performances by Mr. Gerald V. Casale of Devo. On one side of this record, he sings lead vocals, he plays bass guitar, and he fills up one whole side of this incredible blue vinyl platter. You will also find on this David Kendrick. David was Devo's drummer from 1986-ish to 2006. Man, I really need to do a retake on just about this whole episode. I've been so dang busy that I have not been able to really collect my thoughts. And we'll get to the reason why that is in a minute. So y'all want to bear with me? I'm going to try it again and say that yes, Gerald V. Casale, along with David Kendrick, Devo's drummer from 1986 to 1996, and then again in 2004, and Bob Lewis, founding member of Devo, along with Jerry Casale. They're found on one side of this platter. On the other side of this platter, you've got performances by many Devotional favorites and members thereof, such as the Fantastic Plastics, Detention, Poopy Necropond, me, David Kendrick, etc., etc., etc. So it came out to great response. People loved it, sold quite a few of them. I've got quite a few left, along with the much smaller but no less intense CD version of it, featuring completely remixed and remastered audio from last year's version. And I haven't gone live with these things yet on my Discogs or my eBay because I've been focusing all of my attention on the upcoming Danbury Record and CD Expo, which is October 21st at the VFW Hall in Danbury, Connecticut. And can you guys see what's going on here? Yep. All right. Yes. If you guys were wondering what was going on, now you know what's going on. You saw flashes of the tail. You saw flashes of the cauliflower ear. You might have heard the purring and the meowing. And now you're watching me set the camera back up with none other than Mr. Harry the Cat, making his now customary live appearance on Tent Talks Tunes. Look at this, the one-eared wonder himself, with the blazing yellow eyes. He used to be so camera shy, but now he's nothing but a camera hog. I swear to God, he hears me talking nonstop here in my office on Wednesdays, and oh man, Harry, you're a brute. And he knows that it's time for him to go get some camera time and get some virtual internet love from all of you Tent Talks Tunes fans out there. So there he is, Harry. Once again, diverting all attention from yours truly. But you know what? That's what cats are for, aren't they? Look at this little guy. Listen to that purr. I don't know what the decibel reading is on his purr, but it would definitely register on any decibel meter. Here's to you, Harry the Cat. Chad Cochran, yes, Sweet Blue Vinyl, you know it. Murray Gelman from Tucson is tuned in, and Clinton Zilla says that his kids grew up with Yo Gabba Gabba and they know DJ Lance Rock very well. I gotta tell you, DJ Lance Rock is probably even cooler in person than he is on the TV screen. So anyway, before I was so viciously sidetracked by this cute little feline, I was telling you about the Danbury Record and CD Expo, October 21st. I'm in a mad pricing and prepping frenzy for this thing. As you've heard on previous episodes of Tent Talks Tunes, I have exhumed my entire personal stash of vinyl that I saved and hoarded, during the years of Trash American Styles brick and mortar, and I'm selling them. It's time for them to go. They don't do anybody any good just sitting in my basement. They would look a lot better in your record collection. And I brought them out. I brought the first crate out to the Counterweight Red Scroll record show this past weekend, which was a gangbuster event. Well, and I'm thanking everybody for coming out to these events. Thank you, everybody who came out. This was a blockbuster. Lots and lots of great people with good taste in music, and sold quite a few of the records from my personal stash, but I got quite a few left over, and I've been pricing a whole bunch to have a new selection at the Danbury Record and CD Expo. And even though it is primarily punk and hardcore, we got some stuff that's not punk and hardcore. How about this? How about an original Smashing Pumpkins Siamese Dream LP from 1990 whatever on purple vinyl. That is OG to the max. That's going up for sale. How about a 100% original Sonic Youth Walls Have Ears from 1985? Second pressing on black vinyl. Literally one of the best live performances, or two of the best live performances by Sonic Youth ever pressed on vinyl. And the funny thing is, the record company who made this, which was Blast First in England, put this entire incredible package together. Beautiful front, beautiful back, deluxe gatefold sleeve, 2 deluxe picture sleeves. That's one, the other's in the jacket. They put the whole package together without telling Sonic Youth about it, and presented it to Sonic Youth as sort of a fait accompli, thinking that they would be pleased. Well, apparently the Sonic Youths were not pleased about it at all. And the record got as far as 2 pressings, and after that, no mo. And as far as I know, it has never been reissued. As far as I know, it never will be reissued. Obviously, you can't predict the future, but at least as of this writing, you can't get that album or the music contained on it in any other form. Of course, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I was checking out Sonic Youth's Bandcamp page, which has tons and tons of releases, and that one, very pointedly, was not on it. So, yeah, I'm parting with mine. What can I tell you? Arthur Russell, nice sealed copy of a Record Store Day pressing from 20 whatever. Sealed. That's the way I like to roll. So, yeah. Thank you, everybody who came out to this one, and everybody who might have missed it. Danbury Record and CD Expo, October 21st at the VFW Hall number 149 in beautiful downtown Danbury. I'm going to be there, but with a whole bunch of other cool dealers. Whew, you heard about this one an awful lot, and I must say that this was a career highlight, a lifetime achievement, was getting to play on stage as the slinger of the Thunder Lumba for Antiseen's 40th anniversary gig. Mr. Bruiser Braswell, who's tuned in right now, welcome aboard, Bruiser, and thank you, and also Clinton, for your invaluable service in keeping the Death Train firmly on the tracks for the 40th anniversary show. Man, we had, kind of like the Devotional, we had people coming in from all over the world for this event, and we had a nice full house. And the entire event went smooth as silk. We did 2 hours of signing stuff. I had a pretty good case of writer's cramp by the time that was over. I've never signed so many autographs in all my born days. And you know what? I loved every second of it. Opening act, Sweet Georgia Brown and Joe Buck Yourself both killed it. The people loved them. And then the Antiseen went on to play the longest set that band had ever played. 40 songs for 40 years, featuring 6 different lineups from the past, and of course the current Ultra lineup from today. I played 25 of those songs. Our guitar player, Walt Wheat, played 37 of them. Jeff Clayton sang all of them. And Sir Barry Hannibal on the drums played most of them. And also, along with Walt and Jeff, took care of the lion's share of actually staging and setting up the entire event. It was pretty bonus. It was not bogus. It was bonus. It was gala. And I'll tell you, it was such a great thing to be on the stage for the first 12 songs, and then remaining the last 13 songs, and then the songs in the middle, and just see this entire audience of people who were there to see the show. You know, it wasn't like a whole bunch of people drifting in and out, you know, leaving for a few songs to get a smoke break or to go get a beer, or, you know, people leaving during the set. It was basically the whole house, the whole time, right there with us and with the past lineups. And the past lineups got a lot of love and a lot of respect. Personally, I was out there in the audience watching most of the previous lineups. And it was also really cool because backstage, all the different dudes from the various lineups, and that includes Trip McNeil, Doug Knipe, Greg Clayton, Mad Brother Ward, Steve Sadler, Tom O'Keefe. Maybe I'm missing somebody, I hope not. But all the former members of Antiseen who were there were all gathered around the stage door, the backstage door, watching whoever was on stage at a given moment, or they were out in the audience. It's like everybody who was in Antiseen was still an Antiseen fan. And that was neat. I mean, I know I certainly was. I got a real thrill because I never saw the Doug Knipe lineup of the band. And I really got a big kick out of watching the different drummers play with their different styles, and the different bass players with their different styles. And it made me reflect on how each album and each era of the band's got a different feel to it and a different drive to it. And actually getting to see all these players in one place and make notes and make comparisons was literally a once-in-a-lifetime event. So I am definitely honored and blessed to have been a part of it. So thank you also to everybody who came out and made the Antiseen 40th a huge success. A toast of delicious Danbury Tap to all of you. Man, I sure hope you guys can hear me over the noise of Harry's purring. He's parked firmly on my lap right here, just having a good old time. Let's see here. James Lee Jones said he got a recent press of that Sonic Youth album. Was that a legit pressing or one of those many gray area pressings that are coming out of Europe these days? Europe's enjoying a huge boom in gray area vinyl LPs because of a loophole in copyright law that allows people to press radio broadcasts onto vinyl legit without having to pay royalties or anything. So I'm curious to know if that's one of them, or if maybe indeed Sonic Youth did reissue it. In any case, mine's the original 1985. Because that's how we do it here with Tent Talks Tunes. So yeah, so many thank yous for so many past successful events and lots of anticipation for the Danbury Record and CD Expo on the 21st. And of course, you might have noticed Harry could knock it down, but he couldn't destroy it entirely. This is a genuine, honest-to-jaw set list from Antiseen's 40th anniversary show. We had a couple of these huge set lists placed strategically at either side of the stage, well behind the PA columns, out of sight of the audience, so that every song was a surprise. And that's the way I like to do it. You know, I really, personally, I don't really like it when people can see the set list and they can guess what's going to happen next. I love the element of surprise, and I think we definitely gave it to them at the 40th, including One brand new song that was never played live before. That's a cryptic reference to the real name of the song. You'll be finding out what it is soon enough. And, gosh, I Saw the Light. I don't know if that's ever been played live. What was the other one? Crack of Dawn. Don't know if that one was ever played live before. And a couple of new songs. The new songs went over with a big kapow, and that made yours truly very happy. Very happy indeed. So thanks again, everybody. So that was then. Let's talk about what is now. There's a brand new issue of Outsider magazine. This is a free magazine. I've been giving them away at record shows recently. It features an article written by me about the fateful night that I videotaped Nirvana in 1991 at a small venue in New Haven. It's a YouTube video that has over 1 million watches. I wish that I could have gotten, let's say, just a nickel, 5 cents for every watch that video has gotten. I would have zero financial problems now, ever. But you can read the article about it for free, just as you can watch the video for free. If you want me to mail you one, let me know. Just cover the cost of postage. Or if you're mail ordering something, I'll throw one of these in. And if you're coming to the Danbury Record and CD Expo, I should have a bundle of them that I'll be giving away for the entire day. It's a really cool magazine, New York punk rock, very central to the Hudson Valley, but featuring topics of general interest to all who like good music. What else is going on? Oh boy, howdy. I've been teasing this one for a while, but we actually have just about all of the pieces together now. All I'm missing is the insert. Let's see. Clinton Zilla says, you taped the New Haven show? Yes, Clinton Zilla. I am the guy who taped the Nirvana New Haven show. Read all about it in Outsider magazine. All the pieces are in place. We got the cover. That's the front. That's the back. We got the vinyl. So far, I've identified 4 different color variants. We have this sort of blue-gray. Please bear with me while I attempt the very difficult job of putting the record back in the sleeve. It's tough, but I can do it. I've been in this record business for a long time. Here's a decidedly purple version. You might not be able to see the color difference on the TV screen, but I can assure you one is definitely gray and one is definitely purple. Pretty sure you will be able to see the color on this one. This is a really exciting one. Green. Deep, dark, delicious green. And I was very happy when I saw these because one of the first ever colored vinyl records I got that I could really appreciate as a semi-adult record collector was a UK pressing of Rolling Stones' Through the Past Darkly that came on a color of green that was kind of similar to this. I had to pay $8.99 for it at Specs Music at the Westland Mall in Hialeah, Florida. And in 1978, 79, that was expensive. But it was cool. The green vinyl was beautiful. And since it was the UK pressing, it had a slightly different track order. It had one of my favorite Rolling Stones tracks of all, We Love You. Fantastic single from 1967 that wasn't a huge hit. But man, what a great tune. That's on the UK pressing of the Rolling Stones Through the Past Darkly, not on the US. So I'll always associate this delightful shade of green vinyl with one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs. And we also got some exciting red vinyl. Tiny Tim. Prisoner of Love. And you might ask, why do we have 4 different colors? The reason is that whenever I do the first pressing of an album on my label, TPOS, I like to get the random color option. The pressing plant offers an option to where they pick the colors that they will press the vinyl on. And they literally do it by using whatever vinyl is left over on a given day's work. Like if somebody presses a bunch of red records and they have leftover red vinyl from that pressing, they'll use it on a random color vinyl order. Same thing with the green, same thing with the, whatever they have on hand. So they just take all the remnants from whatever day they've been pressing and throw them all in the hopper, and whatever comes out is whatever comes out. So I only pressed 620 of these, but already I've got 4 different colors of vinyl. So, as a record collector, I'm geeking out over this big time. And once I get the inserts printed, it'll be available, and it is a wonderful album. It's a wonderful album. It's a tribute to Russ Columbo, who during his heyday was a total rival to Bing Crosby and Rudy Vallee and other singers of that type. And Russ Columbo was killed in one of the most insane, freakish, random accidents you could imagine. I'm not going to try to describe it, but if you look up Russ Columbo, you'll see it was a really bizarre way to go, and his career was cut very prematurely short. But he was one of Tiny Tim's favorite singers ever. And Tiny said that this album right here, Prisoner of Love, a tribute to Russ Columbo, was the best album he ever did. He said it in words. So I'm pretty excited to have it out on TPOS. That will be available soon. You've also heard me talking about the Antiseen People's Choice. These were made available at the 40th anniversary show. We sold a couple pallets full, but we still got some left. Same trip, I am not making them available on my website, either Discogs or eBay or directly just yet, because I'm in such mad preps for the Danbury Record and CD Expo. But Jeff Clayton is selling them. He's got them. If you go to the Antiseen Big Cartel store, you will find them. You can get them directly from old JC himself, which is good enough for me. Man, oh man, oh man, oh. So much stuff. I mentioned Bruiser Braswell earlier. Bruiser Braswell used to be the lead singer for a really cool band from Macon, Georgia called Taped Fist. And Taped Fist went the way of the dodo when Bruiser moved to Hickory, North Carolina. And Dan Lott, I see you're tuned in, so you know what I'm talking about. They did leave some evidence behind, a DVD of Taped Fist live at the Antiseen 35th anniversary show, which I was in attendance as a spectator. And Taped Fist tore it up that night. And here it is, immortalized on video, on DVD. Got mine signed by Bruiser Braswell. And Dan Lott, I didn't get mine signed by you when you were there. I'm mildly bummed about that. I don't know when our paths are going to cross again, but man, I need some autograph action from you, Dan Lott. And the other guys from Taped Fist. Give an old guy a break, man. Help me be a fanboy geek. Help me mark out. I need full autographs on this here Taped Fist. The Antiseen 40th was a great, great event for getting autographs. Oh, my stars and garters. This book here, Antiseen Destructo Maximus, which was a history of the first, I believe, 20 years of Antiseen. Great book. I've made it my duty to get autographs from every single Antiseen alum humanly possible in this book. I think I got more on some other pages in here too. I've got probably a few more interspersed hither and yon, but that's the meat of the matter right there. Lots of Antiseen alum. And that just totally makes the fanboy in me very, very happy. Also got lots of canonical sets of autographs on some Antiseen records that I've been sitting on for a very long time. These are going to be kind of hard to see, but they are there. Full set of autographs, all members from the Walking Dead single. And also the Blood of Freaks single. This one was missing a Doug Throgmorton autograph. Finally got one. This was missing, along with a few others, a Tom O'Keefe autograph. A bunch of these records I got signed in 1992 when Antiseen played at the Moon in New Haven, which was the same venue where the Nirvana show I filmed took place. And I got everybody's autographs except Tom O'Keefe that day because of some weird circumstance. And finally, 31 years later, I was able to run into Tom O'Keefe, get him to put his Tom O'Keefe on some of these sleeves that were missing them from 1992. So it just goes to show you guys, patience pays off. The only conceivable drawback was that the only pen I had on hand was a green Sharpie. So you really got to look at these things carefully to see Tom O'Keefe's signature. But they are there. Got Doug Knipe to sign a couple. That's one. That's another. I believe that's another. Yeah. Got to grab them autographs while you can. And we're getting just completely random here now in terms of things I picked up. As you guys know, that when I do my road trips to tour or do these big events, I try to hit every record store on the way down, on the way over, and on the way back. Because as I keep saying over and over and over again, I've got my label, TPOS. TPOS is the label that releases stuff like the Antiseen People's Choice. TPOS is the label that releases the Tiny Tim album and the Devoted record. So I load my car up with a couple crates of LPs and a big old display box of 7-inch singles and a few trays of cassettes. And I go to all the cool record stores in all the towns that I visit, between point A, point B, point C, and home. And, of course, the goal is to sell a lot of records and make a couple dollars, but the at least secondary goal, is to find cool stuff, is to find groovy things that I can take home and add to my collection. And I found some things. I found a few things. One thing I found, I had a narrow miss with Jeff Clayton because he was selling some books, and I really wanted to get his copy of Lunar Notes, which is the autobiography of Mr. Bill Harkleroad, a.k.a. Zoot Horn Rollo, of Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. And by the time I finally remembered to ask Jeff if he still had his copy, the answer was no. But core blimey, I found a copy at one of my favorite record stores, Shake It Records in Cincinnati. Really good people there, incredible inventory, and they got a real good book section. I picked up this copy of Lunar Notes by Zoot Horn Rollo. And if you guys are, anybody out there is a Captain Beefheart fan, and specifically that era of Captain Beefheart, you know how important Zoot Horn Rollo, a.k.a. Bill Harkleroad, was to the sound and the story of that band. And I have not read this yet. It's been on my list for a long time, so this is going to be happening pretty soon. Good reading picked up on tour when I was in Cincinnati, Ohio. I also picked up an album related to that. I got to stress that Zoot Horn Rollo book is not for sale, but this album is for sale. I picked up a spare copy of it because I do have one in my personal collection, but I always pick these up because people need to know about this Mallard. Before I start going on and on and on and on and on, does anybody know, who can tell us who Mallard is? Who wants to see and say who Mallard is? I'm going to sit back here and let the internet delay take its time. I'm going to take a little swig of Wolta. Tell me who Mallard is, guys. I know some of you know out there. Harry would express interest in knowing the answer, except he has no interest whatsoever. Harry is completely beyond it. He doesn't even speak English. All he hears is about a... That's all he hears when I start talking. He just knows it's my voice. He doesn't know or care that Mallard is actually a bunch of ex-members of Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. These are the guys from the Trout Mask Replica, Lick My Decals Off era. It is Zoot Horn Rollo, and I believe Rocket Morton is on this. I think Art Tripp is the drummer. John Drumbo French was at least initially involved in this band, and they got themselves a singer. Forget the name of the singer. And it's good. It's a really good album. This is, yes, John Bridges, Mallard were the guys who left Beefheart. And that's a very contentious thing. If you ask Beefheart, or if you did when he was alive, in his usual fashion, he'd tell you that he fired them. But the real story is, and this has been told by a few members, that they did a European tour, didn't get paid for it, and said, screw this, we're out of here. We're tired of this BS. We are leaving. So they left en masse, got themselves a new singer, and released 2 really good albums. Like this one and the first one, which only came out in the UK. They're good. The music on these albums is a completely logical extension of what they were doing on Clear Spot. And if this had been a full-fledged Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band album with Beefheart on vocals, it would have fit perfectly in the gap between Clear Spot and Bat Chain Puller. And I'll even say Blue Jeans and Moonbeams too, because Blue Jeans and Moonbeams is a really underrated and I think really good album. Unconditionally Guaranteed, I can't get behind that one. It's just too simplistic for my taste. It's really good if you like that sort of 70s AOR, FM, soul music. But as far as it being a Captain Beefheart record, I honestly think it falls way short of the mark. If this had come out instead, I think it would have made a lot more sense in the musical continuity, and it would have been a more enjoyable listen. So it's lacking the guy Captain Beefheart, but it's got the core musicians who helped craft the sound. And this is a good record, and I stand by it. And yes, it's a dupe, and yes, I will be pricing it and bringing it to the Danbury Record and CD Expo. Because if you dig Captain Beefheart, or just dig really good 70s, somewhat off-kilter, a little bit eccentric rock music, I think you'll dig the Mallard. Just saying. I picked this one up in Allentown, Pennsylvania, Double Decker Records. Another favorite stop of mine when I'm on the road. Now here's one that I got when I was in Cleveland, Ohio at the great My Mind's Eye record store. And once again, I'm going to let you guys identify the cover because I saw the cover and I immediately popped for it. And any of you old hardcore people who love their DC hardcore circa 81, 82, you're going to recognize the art on this one. You know, look at that with the shrink still on it. Hope you guys can see it with the reflection of my monitor. Let's see if I can get a better... Now, you can't really see it, unfortunately. But you can kind of see what it is. You can see the violin. There you go. The violin and the roses and the sepia tone. Yes, any collectors of original 81, 82 era hardcore albums will know this front cover. Yes, it is indeed the Ozark Opry, presented by Lee Mace. Yes, look at that. Beautiful. Factory, not factory seal, but it's still got the factory shrink on it. The Ozark Opry, featuring the very famous violin and roses variant. First pressing. I guarantee you that any resemblance to any DC hardcore compilation albums that came out around 1981-82, purely coincidental. 100% coincidental. $3. Well spent, I think. Thank you, Charles, at My Mind's Eye Records. You're one of the giants. Here's one I found when I was at Lunchbox Records in Charlotte. Charlotte, the Queen City, has got two really good record stores, of course, obviously Repo Records, the patron saint record store of the almighty Antiseen. Hello, Jimmy Repo, if you're watching. Good seeing you at the 40th anniversary show. Another stop I like to make is Lunchbox Records. Hello, Scott at Lunchbox, if you're out there. I was doing some wheeling and dealing at Lunchbox, and I was shocked and awed and amazed to come across this one here. Now, this is one that I love it when I find records by bands who I've always kind of known about, especially from a certain era, but I had no idea that they had certain releases. And this is one right here by a really obscure Tampa. I guess you could call them like, I guess they were kind of goth, kind of new wave. a band called A New Personality. They've got a pretty cool 45 that came out called What I Lost, that I originally tape recorded off of a radio-free living room radio program back around 1981. And I always loved that song, and it took me a lot of years to finally find a copy of the 45. And I thought that was it. I thought that was the entire... I thought that was their entire recorded output, aside from one track on the great Land That Time Forgot compilation album that Open Books and Records put out. But here I am, just randomly flipping through the end section, and there's a 12-inch single by these guys. I had no idea. There's the front. There's the back. It's the same band. Same people. 12-inch single. Had no idea. I haven't even heard this thing yet. I just put it right on the want pile. I just said, I'm taking this. Just on principle. Even if the record's completely terrible and lousy, I just love the graphics on the front. That is like so 80s, like in all the right ways. And it's one of those heavy cardboard tip-on sleeves. You can see the telltale, it's got a split on the top, so you can see the telltale brown cardboard inside. It's got a lyric sheet in there. I mean, this is great. To me, this is what record collecting really is all about, is finding these completely obscure gems that you never knew you wanted. But the second you see them, you want them. And the price was certainly right. $10 in trade. There's no way I was going to say no to that. So yeah, man, that was a score. Neil from Buffalo, New York. Neil, how do you know A New Personality, Neil? Please fill me in. That's his one obscure Florida band. But do I recall correctly, Neil, that you're from Florida? Memory gets kind of hazy a little bit. I don't remember who's what or from where, but yeah, New Personality. It makes me wonder what else they might have written and or recorded that we don't know about and has never seen the light of day. Really, really interesting to speculate on that. And it's worth mentioning, too, that in the early 80s, Tampa, like I grew up in Hialeah, and Hialeah was nowhere. Like, really nowhere. Tampa was really nowhere. There was nothing, zero happening in Tampa. So the fact that there was one goth, new wave sort of band in Tampa was nothing short of miraculous, really. And, yeah, here's more of their evidence. Go figure. Now, I talked about Devo on this episode of Tent Talks Tunes quite a bit. I want to talk about Devo a little bit more. Because also, while I was at Used Kids Records in Columbus, Ohio, another favorite stop of mine, I asked the same question that I always ask. I walk in with my big crates full of records, make my pitch. If it seems like we're going to do some business, I always ask the big question. I say, so, do you guys have any Devo records salted away that I need to know about? The answer is, most often, no. The second most often given answer is, yeah, we got a couple of things. And, they'll show me usually some new repress or, some common used stuff, which is fine, because you got to have Devo in your record store. You know what I mean? And I'm a guy who's got almost everything. But in this case, I was very pleasantly surprised when they said, yeah, we got a few things. And they pulled out a nice little stack of genuinely cool, vintage, rare Devo pressings, all of which I already had, except for one. Except for one. This is the way Jerry Lee Lewis would say it. Had all of them except for one. And that was something that, do I really need it? Is it life or death that I own it? No. But it is super cool that I found a Japanese pressing of Be Stiff, the 6-song EP featuring their first 3 45 RPM singles. If this is anything like typical Japanese pressings, it's probably going to sound stellar. Because for many, many years, Japan and Germany set the level. They set the benchmark for quality vinyl pressings, mastering and everything. And I've heard a few different versions of this one. I've heard the regular English one, which is fairly common. and has its own particular sound. I also have a German version of this, which has a really weird sound. For some reason, the German pressing was mastered to sound very harsh, very tinny. And it's definitely in the mastering, because neither the UK pressing nor the original Boogie Boy 45 sound anything like it. So some cutting engineer in Germany took some liberties and really tweaked the audio on the German version of this. I don't know why. So I'll be very curious to see what the Japanese engineers did with it. Knowing them, they were probably super faithful to the original. And if they tweaked it at all, it was just to bring out some of the original warm and deep, rich tones inherent in the master tape. This also features one of my very favorite things in the entire world, a lyric sheet, which on one side is in Japanese, if you guys can see that, and which on the other side is in English. And I don't know if you can see it, but two of the songs on here are phonetic translations of the Devo lyrics. Yes, the lyrics to Be Stiff and Social Fools are phonetically translated, and they are quite surreal, to say the least. I don't know if I'm going to actually read them, because only the super hardcore devotees will appreciate the strange lyric variations on the Japanese translation. But maybe one day I'll record my own versions of those two songs using the English translated lyrics found on this Japanese sleeve. I've done it before. I have done a version of Get Off My Cloud by the Rolling Stones, taken off of a phonetically translated Japanese lyric sheet. And I guarantee you, Salvador Dali couldn't have done better with the lyrics than the anonymous Japanese translator who came up with the unique translation of Get Off My Cloud by the Rolling Stones. It's on one of my albums, I forget which. I think if you go to my my Bandcamp page, you might find it there, because the Bandcamp page is indeed up. What other kind of weird, wacky, wild stuff did I find out there? Well, I found this. You see records by this guy all over the ding-dong-dang-damn place. David Peel in the Lower East Side. Completely weird. One of the original outsider artists to ever get put on the vinyl in the rock and roll idiom. Never mind to be on a major label. His first couple albums were on Elektra Records, which is, even though they were an indie at the time, they were a huge indie. And they were later bought up by Warner Brothers and became a major, blah, blah, blah. But they released the first two David Peel records, proving that anything was possible in the late 60s. So after Elektra dropped him because he didn't sell anything, he started his own label called Orange, based out of New York City, and he put out tons of records. All of them really wacky, nutty. I find them very hard to listen to. I know a lot of people really love them, kind of like Jandek. I can't take Jandek at all, but there are people out there who love Jandek. I wouldn't say that David Peel is as far gone as Jandek, but he's pretty far gone. And these records are just like pure, unfettered id of David Peel. And I don't really go out of my way to collect his records, but this one caught my eye because it had a production credit on the back. See if you guys can see that. Produced by David Peel, G.G. Allen, and Alan Chappell. Produced, or at least co-produced by G.G. Allen, and Al Chappell being the bass player of the Jabbers. That's really odd. I've never seen production credits for either of those guys anywhere. Not even on GG Records. They never had production credits, I don't think. But yeah, they got production credits for this David Peel record, which is quite a curiosity. And also curious, really curious, is that yes, this is on Orange Records. See, it's got the customary orange label, but a modification thereof. This is actually a Yugoslavian pressing of the David Peel record. Somehow, for some reason, I believe in the late 80s, David Peel had a P&D deal with some label in Yugoslavia to have his entire catalog reissued over there on vinyl. I don't know what the Yugoslavians thought of this when they heard it. One can only speculate. But they all came out, as far as I know, on Yugoslavian pressings. So that's the version I got when I was on the road. And I'm sure that there is no way on God's green earth to know exactly what Gigi and Al Chappelle did in the producer's chair for this album. But just on principle, I'm going to have to give it a listen. Because that's the way I roll. You know that the word fan is just short for fanatic. That is me being fanatical about things Gigi Allen. Sorry, I'm like Lady Gaga. I was born this way. I was hanging out in Asheville, North Carolina, visiting the great record stores there, Static Age Records and Voltage Records, and did some commerce with those guys. Didn't find anything at either store, which does happen sometimes, but I ended up making the reacquaintance of an old Florida dude named Randy Ruffner. Randy Ruffner was one of those dudes who was a couple years older than I was, and he was in the bands that preceded my bands, Broken Talent being the main one, and all the bands that we ran with, like Morbid Opera and F and Gay Cowboys and Bondage. Randy Ruffner had, excuse me, Stand Still Dance Band and the Spanish Dogs. And he was watching Tent Talks Tunes a few weeks ago and said, hey, dude, let's meet up. I'll take you to lunch. And Malcolm Tent is a guy who never, ever refuses a free lunch. Ever. Especially when it's with an old Florida compatriot who we can talk shop. And that's what we did, man. Had a great time hanging out with Randy. Super cool guy. We caught up on a lot of things and talked about a lot of music and people from the Florida days and living in North Carolina. Really, really cool. And during the visit, he presented me with a short stack of genuine, honest-to-gosh, original Spanish Dogs LPs and 45 RPM singles. And of course, in my frenzy to get ready for tonight's episode of 10 Talks Tunes, I forgot to grab the singles. But this is a really cool band. And they're the 145 they have with the great song, I Don't Want to Go to Cleveland. Also heard for the first time on Radio Free Living Room, which I made a cassette tape of. Live Forever in the pantheon of my favorite songs of all time. And oddly enough, I've never heard this record. I have never heard this one. So I'm going to actually crack one open, which, you know, diehard record collectors don't like the thought of opening up a sealed record that's been intact for, you know, over 40 years. But, you know, these things are made for listening. What can I tell you? So I'm going to crack it open and give it a listen. And I have a suspicion I'm going to like it. And I've got other copies, along with other copies of their 45. If anybody wants a really cool primo slab of original South Florida new wave, hit me up. We'll talk. We shall talk. And I'm running out of time, which is also good because I'm running out of things to show you guys that I picked up. I did pick up... Okay, then these are the last two things I'm going to show you guys. I got a couple other random mods, but I'll hit them up next week. It's talking about my pals at Red Squirrel Records in Wallingford, Connecticut. They recently had a 7-inch 45 blowouts. They had way too many boxes of 45 RPM singles, and they just opened the whole bunch up and blew them out cheap. And I, of course, pinched my nose and took a dive in, and I came up with not one, but two 45 RPM singles that are at least somewhat tangentially related to each other. First one, a very nice stock copy of a single called Don't You Let Me Down by Mr. Peter Criss. That's the A-side. The B-side is Hooked on Rock and Roll. Hope you guys can see that original Casablanca 45 from 1978 from his solo album. I'm going to tell you people right now, the Peter Criss solo album has always gotten the bad rap. And I think it's completely, utterly unfair. It's like, okay, yeah, if you want to hear Kiss and you're expecting to find it on the Peter Criss solo album, the one with his painting on the front with the green shadowing behind it, if you want to hear Kiss, you're going to be very disappointed by the Peter Criss album. But if you want to hear some really well done, really well produced 70s blue-eyed soul / R&B, you're going to love it. It's a really good album in that genre. You know, Peter Criss's main stock in trade really was soul music. And I think his solo album reflects that really well. So if you just get rid of the preconceived notions and just listen to it for what it is, it's a really good album. It might even be, Lord strike me dead if I'm lying, it might even be my favorite of the 4 Kiss solo albums, just for sheer listening pleasure. Just to put on and have it playing while I'm working or washing the dishes or whatever. It's just a really good album to have playing. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? So being the completist that I am, and the price was certainly right, the 45 RPM single of Don't You Let Me Down, which probably sold about 15 copies when it came out. Too bad. Also in the same boxes, oh boy, we found another record by some Kiss alum. How about this one? Are You Ready to Rock? By the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. Brace yourself for the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. I'm just going to say they gave a piece of very sound advice on the back of this record. Yes, I paid $1 for it. But this was many years after the fact. Blazing hot pink vinyl. We got Are You Ready to Rock on one side, and, oh, I'm sorry, got to get the title right. Boys Are Gonna Rock on the A side, and Animal on the B side. Unlike the Peter Criss solo album, which I think unfairly got a bad rap, I'm going to be one of the contingent who says that the Vinnie Vincent Invasion albums, you know, mind you, these are just opinions, and anybody out there who wants to disagree is certainly welcome to, because we all like different stuff. Everybody likes whatever they like. If you like it, that's good enough for me. But I know what I like. And I have my own very strong opinions. But the 2 Vinnie Vincent records, the Vinnie Vincent Invasion records, are the most ridiculous, absurd, insane, unlistenable, stupid hair metal records ever produced. Just my opinion. Those albums are an example of what Motorhead said was everything louder than everything else. When Motorhead do everything louder than everything else, it works. When the Vinnie Vincent Invasion do everything louder than everything else, it's absurd, it's insane, it's ridiculous. It's just a cacophonous mess. It's everybody striving to, like, the singer hits the highest notes he possibly can. Vinnie Vincent plays these insane guitar solos where it's just him hitting as many notes as he possibly can, as fast as he can, without any let up whatsoever. It's like somebody taking a bunch of guitar picks and putting them on each blade of an electric fan and turning on the fan and running the picks across the strings while this guy moves his fingers as fast as he possibly can. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. You know, the over-the-top 80s drum production where every single snare hit sounds like a shotgun going off, and every single kick hit sounds like it was recorded on the bottom of the Grand Canyon. It is just nuts. Like the worst example of overkill possible. I've never once ever made it all the way through a single side of a Vinnie Vincent Invasion album. And I've tried. Every once in a while, I'll try. I've got the first album in my personal collection, and I ain't selling that one because it's so fucking ridiculous. And I love that kind of absurdity. Unlistenable albums. I love them. And every few years or so, I'll take a deep breath and put on an album like the Vinnie Vincent Invasion and try to listen to it. And wouldn't you know, 40-something years on, I still have not been able to make it past like maybe 1.5 songs on either side of a Vinnie Vincent Invasion album. Starting on side 1 or side 2, or at the beginning of either side, or in the middle of either side. I ain't been able to do it. Now, I've made a similar observation about Discharge in their Grave New World album, and when I did that, a whole bunch of people wrote in saying, hey man, I like that album, listen to this song. Or hey, I like this album, and here's why I like this album. So if any of you people out there do like the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, tell me why. I want to know. I'm like really genuinely curious. I want to hear what it is that to your ear is likable, because I don't see it. I don't get it at all. But if you got something that you can show me or tell me, let me know. I really want to know, because he did sell some records and he's got fans to this very day. So somebody sees something in it, and I'm curious. I'm curious. Maybe I'll learn something. Maybe I'll go on hating him no matter what. Not hating him, but just being completely amazed at how absurd his records are. Teach an old dog some new tricks. That's why, at least one of the reasons why I do Tent Talks Tunes. Because I love learning things about music, the people who make the music, and the people who like the music. I love seeing you guys' comments. I love interacting with everybody and chitting and chatting with y'all. You know, we can't do it live and in person very often. That's why this internet is good for something. So thank you guys for tuning in. And thanks for expressing your opinions and giving me something to bounce off of. And maybe vice versa. Pretty cool. Music, as Frank Zappa said, is the best. I will probably be staying put for at least the next few weeks. So we got a few more episodes of Tent Talks Tunes coming up in, I hope, an uninterrupted fashion for the next few weeks at least. So please join me again in about 167 hours' time. Until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Nutmeg State.